there's something going on at your workplace and you need to object to it because it's driving you crazy, and you talk it over with your wife so that you've got your head screwed on straight. You say, oh, I've got to say something. And you go there and you say something, and you're stumbling and awkward and all of that, but you watch the response. To share does not mean to give away something you value and get nothing back. That is instead only what every child who refuses to share fears it means. To share means properly to initiate the process of trade. A child who can't share, who can't trade, can't have any friends, because having friends is a form of trade.
A lot of people say they want to pursue their dreams and they wait too long to do it. The best time to start pursuing your dreams is right now. Go ahead and write down exactly what you want to do and how you want to do it, and put that down on a piece of paper and write it down every single day. That way your motivation will continue to push through every day, and you'll notice what you want to do every single day. And you will know your long-term plan so that you can constantly work on it day in and day out and improve yourself in those categories that you need to in order to become successful in that area each and every single day, so that it'll eventually add up to you becoming successful because you put in all the work beforehand. There's so many people out there that just talk about wanting to pursue their dreams and sit around and never really take an action to truly pursue and go after what they want to. They'll just sit around and talk about how they would like to do this one day, yet never really try and go out and do that. They'll just mention it and say it here and there that it'll be a good thing to do for them, but they never do any progression towards it, which is the biggest problem nowadays, is so many people are lazy and just think things should come to them without working hard. And a lot of people, when they fail, they just give up. When in actuality, you need to get up every single time you fail, because that next time you fail, that can be the key to learning to what it takes to become successful.
So to have a relationship with any woman, you have to sacrifice the relationship with the ideal woman, and you have to see the individual woman and separate her from the ideal. And that's the same thing that happens to the hero in Sleeping Beauty, right? He sees the evil queen who actually turns into the dragon of chaos, and it's not until he can defeat her that he can establish a relationship with the actual princess. Instantly, it's a person with whom you have a relationship that's closer, perhaps, than any relationship that you've ever had, and that you can keep perfect, right? Because most of the relationships you've had already are with people who are screwed up in 50 different ways, and so are you. You have this possibility of maintaining this relationship that starts out, that baby really likes you. There's part of your psyche that's oriented towards further development. Jung would call that the self. And that's like the totality of everything that you could be. And it's a strange sort of entity in some sense, because it's partly potential, and it's potential that expands across time. But the way that your potential totality calls to you in the present is by placing things in front of you that are your problem. If you have someone around you, something good happens to you, and you're kind of afraid to even admit it, because you let that be known, it'll certainly be taken away. So, you come out and you sort of tell someone half-heartedly that something good happened to you, and they give you a whack, and then talk about, the great thing that happened to them 3 years ago, or worse, the great thing that happened to someone that they knew 3 years ago. I would say that many women around the age of, I would say between 28 and 32, have a career family crisis that they have to deal with. And I think that's partly because of the foreshortened time frame that women have to contend with. Like, women have to get the major pieces of their life put together faster than men, which is also partly why men aren't under so much pressure to grow up. The narrative of their past, to identify, to break their life down into 6 stages, epochs we call them, and then to identify the emotionally significant moments in each epoch and to write them out. What happened negatively, what happened positively, what the consequences were, what you derived from it, perhaps what you could have done differently, perhaps what you learned from it, all of that. They want to retool their perceptions and their actions so that the probability that they'll have the same experience again is minimized, and their mind won't leave them alone till they do it. And no wonder, right? Because if you fall into a big pit and you get really hurt, the first thing you should figure out is how to not fall into big pits anymore. And your mind is set up exactly for that. people are not listening to you, stop talking to them. When what happens is that if you stop talking to people who aren't listening to you and start watching them instead, they will tell you what they're up to. But so if you have things to say them, but you find people that will listen, talk to them. The ones who aren't listening, pull back, because you're devaluing what you have to say by offering it to an audience that does nothing but reject it. Human interaction comes as a consequence of long-term committed relationships, right, with your wife or your husband or your parents or your siblings or your children. And so I would say that true depth in relationship is generally to be found within family. That doesn't mean that friends aren't important. Happiness will descend upon you from time to time, and that's the best you've got. And then also during sorrowful times, the fact that you've strengthened your character and that you're aiming at the highest that you can conceptualize, that'll give you the moral fortitude to endure without becoming corrupted during those times.
Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you haven't, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you're new, and go ahead and hit that like button for us, and leave something in the comment section for us to look at.